All right, we will now be reading 1 Samuel chapters 8 through 11, and then also chapter 15. So this is about Saul. So let's get started on chapter 8. Saul anointed king. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons to be judges in Israel. The eldest son was named Joel, and the second Abiah. They acted as judges in Beersheba. His sons did not follow in their father's footsteps, but were intent on their own profit, taking bribes and perverting the courses of justice. So all elders of Israel met and came to Samuel at Ramah and said to him, "You are now old, and your sons do not follow in your footsteps. Appoint us a king to govern us like other nations." But the request for a king to govern displeased Samuel, and he prayed to the Lord. The Lord answered, "Samuel, listen to the people and all that they are saying. They have not rejected you. It is I whom they have rejected. They will not have be their king. They are now doing to me just what they have done. They're now doing to you just what they have done to me, since I have brought them from Egypt. They have forsaken me and worshipped other gods. Hear what they have to say now, but give them a solemn warning and tell them what sort of king will govern them." Samuel told the people who were asking him for a king all that the Lord had said to him. "This will be the sort of king who will govern you," he said. "He will take your sons and make them serve in chariots and with his cavalry, and will make them run before his chariot. Some he will appoint officers over units of 1,000 and units of 50. Others will plow the fields and reap his harvest. Others again will make weapons of war and equipment for mounted troops. He will take your daughters for perfumers, cooks, and confectioners, and will seize the best of your cornfields, vineyards, and olive yards, and give them to his lackeys. He will take 1/10 of your grain and your vintage to give to his eunuchs and lackeys. Your slaves, both men and women, and the best to your cattle. Your slaves, both men and women, and the best of your cattle and your asses, he will seize and put to his own use. He will take 1/10 of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his slaves. When that day comes, you will cry out against the king whom you have chosen, but it will be too late. The Lord will not answer you." The people refused to listen to Samuel. "No," they said, "we will have a king over us. Then we shall be like other nations, with a king to govern us, to lead us out to war, to fight our battles." So Samuel, when he had heard what the people said, told the Lord, and he answered, "Take them at their word and appoint them a king." Samuel then dismissed all the men of Israel to their homes. There was a man from the district of Benjamin, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, son of Zizur, son of Becheroth, son of Apiah, a Benjamite. He was a man of substance, and had a son named Saul, a young man in his prime. There was no better man in the Israelites than he. He was a head taller than any of his fellows. Just so you guys know, we just entered chapter 9. So if you need to answer any chapter 9 questions, I'll give you a second for that, and then we'll pick up where I left off. All right, we're going to pick up where we just left off in chapter 9 of 1 Samuel. One day, some asses belonging to Saul's father Kish had strayed. So he said to his son Saul, "Take one of the servants with you, and go and look for the asses." They crossed the hill country of Ephraim and went through the district of Cilicia, but did not find them. They passed through the district of Shalim, but they were not there. They passed through the district of Benjamin, but again did not find them. When they had entered the district of Zup, Saul said to his servant with him, "Come, we ought to turn back, or my father will stop thinking about the asses and begin to worry about us." The servant answered, "There is a man of God in the city here who has a great reputation, because everything he says comes true. Suppose we go there. He may tell something about this errand of ours." Saul said, "If we do go, what shall we offer him? There is no food left in our packs, and we have no present for the man of God, nothing at all." The servant answered him again, "Wait, I have a quarter shekel of silver. I can give that to the man to tell us what we should do." Saul said, "Good, let us go to him." So they went to the city where the man of God was. In days gone by in Israel, when a man wished to consult God, he would say, Let us go to the seer. For what is nowadays called a prophet used to be called the seer. As they were going up to the hill, to the cities, they met some girls coming out to draw water and asked, "Shall we find the seer there?" "Yes," they said. "The seer is ahead of you now. He has just arrived in the city, because there is a feast at the Hillshire today. As you enter the city, you will meet him before he goes up to the shire to eat. The people will not start until he comes, for he has to bless the sacrifice before the company can eat. Go up at once." So they went up to the city, and just as they were going in, there was Samuel coming towards them on his way to the shire. Now the day before Saul came, the Lord had disclosed his intention to Samuel in these words: "At this same time tomorrow I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him prince over my people Israel, and then he shall deliver my people from the Philistines. I have seen the sufferings of my people, and their cry has reached my ears." The moment Saul appeared, the Lord said to Samuel, "Here is the man of whom I spoke to you. This man shall rule my people." Saul came up to Samuel in the gateway and said, "Would you tell me where the seer lives?" Samuel replied, "I am the seer. Go on ahead of me to the Hillshire, and you shall eat with me today. In the morning I will set you on your way, after telling you what you have on your mind. Trouble yourself no more about the asses lost 3 days ago, for they have been found. But what is it that all Israel is wanting? It is you and your ancestral home." "But I am a Benjaminite," said Saul, "from the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family is the least important of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin. Why do you say this to me?" Samuel then brought Saul and his servant into the dining hall and gave them a place at the head of the company, which numbered about 30. He said to the cook, "Bring me the portion that I gave you and told you to put on one side." So the cook took up the whole haunch and leg and put it before Saul. And Samuel said, "Here is the portion of meat kept for you. Eat it. It has been reserved for you at this feast, to which I have invited the people." So Saul dined with Samuel that day, and when he came down from the Hillshire to the city, a bed was spread for him on the roof for Saul, and he stayed there that night. At dawn, Samuel called to Saul on the roof, "Get up, and I will set you on your way." When Saul rose, he and Samuel went out together into the street. As they came to the end of the town, Samuel said to Saul, "Tell the boy to go on." He did so. And then Samuel said, "Stay here a moment, and I will tell you the word of God." Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it over Saul's head, and he kissed him and said, "The Lord anoints you prince over his people Israel. You shall rule the people of the Lord and deliver them from their enemies round about them. You shall have a sign that the Lord has anointed you prince to govern his inheritance. When you leave me today, you will meet 2 men by the tomb of Rachel in Zelzah, in the territory of Benjamin. They will tell you that the asses you are looking for have been found, and that your father is concerned for them no longer. He is anxious about you, and says again and again, 'What shall I do about my son?' From there, go across country as far as the terebinth of Tabor, where 3 men going up to Bethel to worship God will meet you. One of them will be carrying 3 kids, the second 3 loaves, and the third a flagon of wine. They will greet you and will offer you 2 loaves, which you will accept from them. Then, when you reach the hill of God..." Oh, I'm sorry. We entered chapter 10, so if you have any chapter 10 questions, you should answer those. I'm sorry I skipped over that. So I'll pause, and then I'll pick back up where we left. So take a break if you need to answer any questions about chapter 9, and then we'll get back to that. Sorry about that. All right, picking up where we left off in chapter 10 of 1 Samuel. I'll go back a line or two. From there, go across country as far as the terebinth of Tabor, where 3 men going up to Bethel to worship God will meet you. One of them will be carrying 3 kids, the second 3 loaves, and the third a flagon of wine. They will greet you and will offer you 2 loaves, which you will accept from them. Then when you reach the hill of God, where a Philistine governor resides, you will meet a company of prophets coming down from the Hillshire, led by lute, harp, fife, and drum, and filled with prophetic rapture. Then the Spirit of the Lord will suddenly take possession of you, and you too will be wrapped like a prophet and become another man. When these signs happen, do whatever the occasion demands. God will be with you. You shall go down to Gilgal ahead of me, and I will come to you to sacrifice whole offerings and shared offerings. Wait 7 days until I join you. Then I will tell you what to do." As Saul turned to leave Samuel, God gave him a new heart. On that same day, all these signs happened. When they reached the hill, there was a company of prophets coming to meet him, and the Spirit of God suddenly took possession of him, so that he too was filled with prophetic rapture. When people who had known him previously saw that he was wrapped like prophets, they said to one another, "What can have happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets?" One of the men of that place said, "And whose sons are they?" Hence the proverb, "Is Saul also among the prophets?" When the prophetic rapture had passed, he went home. Saul's uncle had been to him and the boy, "Where have you been?" Saul answered, "To look for the asses, and when we could not find them, we went to Samuel." His uncle said, "Tell me what Samuel said." He told us that the asses had been found, and Saul, but he did not repeat what Samuel had said about becoming king. Meanwhile, Samuel summoned the Israelites to the Lord at Mizpah and said to the people, "This is the word of the Lord, the God of Israel. I brought Israel up from Egypt. I delivered you from the Egyptians and from all the kingdoms that oppressed you. But today you have rejected your God, who saved you from all your misery and distress. You have said, 'No, set up a king over us.' Now, therefore, take up your positions before the Lord, tribe by tribe and clan by clan." Samuel then presented all the tribes of Israel, and Benjamin was picked by the lot. Then he presented the tribe of Benjamin, family by family, and the family of Matri was picked. Then he presented the family of Matri, man by man, and Saul, son of Kish, was picked. But when they looked for him, he could not be found. They went on to ask the Lord, "Will the man be coming back?" The Lord answered, "There he is, hiding among the baggage." So someone ran out and fetched him out. And as he took his stand among the people, he was a head taller than anyone else. Samuel said to the people, "Look at the man whom the Lord has chosen. There is no one like him in this whole nation." They all acclaimed, shouting, "Long live the king!" Samuel then explained to the people the nature of a king and made a written record of it on a scroll which he deposited before the Lord. He then dismissed them to their homes. Saul too went home to Gibeah, and with him he went some fighting men whose hearts God had moved. But there were scoundrels who said, "How can this fellow deliver us?" They thought nothing of him and brought him no gifts. All right, we're now going to enter chapter 11. So I'll give you a little break to answer any chapter 10 questions, and then in a second we'll enter chapter 11. All right, 1 Samuel chapter 11. About a month later, Nahash the Ammonite attacked and besieged Jabesh Gilead. The men of Jabesh said to Nahash, "Come to terms with us, and we will be your subject." Nahash answered them, "On one condition only will I come to terms with you, that I gouge out your right eyes and bring disgrace to Israel." The elders of Jabesh Gilead then said, "Give us 7 days respite to send messengers throughout Israel, and then, if no one relieves us, we will surrender to you." When the messengers came to Gibeah, where Saul lived, and delivered their message, all the people broke into lamentation. Saul was just coming from the field, driving in the oxen, and asked why the people were lamenting. And they repeated what the men of Jabesh had said. When Saul heard this, the Spirit of the Lord seized him. In his anger, he took a pair of oxen and cut them into pieces, and sent messengers with the pieces all through Israel, to proclaim that the same would be done to the oxen of any man who did not follow Saul and Samuel into battle. The fear of the Lord fell upon the people, and they came out to a man. Saul mustered them in Bezek. There were 300,000 men from Israel, and 30,000 from Judah. He said to the men who brought the message, "Tell the men of Jabesh Gilead, victory will be yours tomorrow by the time the sun is hot." The men of Jabesh had heard what the messengers reported and took heart. And they said to Nahash, "Tomorrow we will surrender to you, and then you may do with us as you think fit." The next day, Saul drew up his men in 3 columns. They forced their way right into the enemy camp during the morning watch and massacred the Ammonites while the day grew hot, after which the survivors scattered until no 2 men were left together. Then the people said to Samuel, "Who said that Saul should not reign over us? Hand the men over to us to be put to death." But Saul said, "No man shall be put to death on a day when the Lord has won such victory in Israel." Samuel said to the people, "Let us now go to Gilgal, and there renew our alliance to the kingdom." So they all went to Gilgal and invested Saul there as king in the presence of the Lord, sacrificing shared offerings before the Lord. And Saul and all the Israelites celebrated the occasion with great joy. All right, that was the end of chapter 11. We're going to skip ahead to chapter 15 in a second. So we're not doing 13, we're skipping ahead to 15. So I'll give you a second to answer questions, and then we'll skip ahead to 15. All right, here is 1 Samuel chapter 15. Samuel said to Saul, "The Lord sent me to anoint you king over his people Israel. Now listen to the voice of the Lord. This is the very word of the Lord of hosts. I am resolved to punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel, how they attacked them on their way up from Egypt. Go now and fall upon the Amalekites and destroy them and put their property under ban. Spare no one. Put them all to death, men, women, children, and babes in arms, herds and flocks, camels and asses." Thereupon Saul called out the levy and mustered them into Telaim. There were 200,000 foot soldiers and another 10,000 from Judah. He came to the Amalekite city and halted for a time in the gorge. Meanwhile, he sent word to the Canaanites to leave the Amalekites and come down, or, he said, "I shall destroy you as well as them." But you were friendly to Israel when they came up from Egypt. So the Canaanites left the Amalekites. Then Saul cut the Amalekites to pieces, all the way from Havilah to Shur on the borders of Egypt. Agag, the king of the Amalekites, he took alive, but he destroyed all the people, putting them to the sword. Saul and his army spared Agag and the best of the sheep and cattle, the fat beasts and the lambs, and everything worth keeping. They were unwilling to destroy them, but anything that was useless and of no value they destroyed. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. "I repent of having made Saul king, for he has turned his back on me, and he has not obeyed my commands." Samuel was angry. All night he cried aloud to the Lord. Early next morning he went to meet Saul, but was told that he had gone to Carmel. Saul had set up a monument for himself there, and he had turned and gone down to Gilgal. There Samuel found him, and Saul greeted him with the words, "The Lord's blessings be upon you. I have obeyed the Lord's commands." But Samuel said, "What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears? Why do I hear the lowing of cattle?" Saul answered, "The people have taken them from the Amalekites. These are what they spared, and the best of the sheep and cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God. The rest we completely destroyed." Samuel said to Saul, "Let be, and I will tell you what the Lord said to me last night." "Tell me," said Saul. So Samuel went on. "Time was when you thought little of yourself, but now you are the head of the tribes of Israel, and the Lord has anointed you king over Israel. The Lord sent you with strict instructions to destroy that wicked nation, the Amalekites. You were to fight against them until you had wiped them all out. Why did you not obey the Lord? Why did you pounce upon the spoil and do what was wrong in the eyes of the Lord?" Saul answered Samuel, "But I did obey the Lord. I went where the Lord sent me, and I have brought back Agag, king of the Amalekites. The rest of them I destroyed. Out of the spoil of people took sheep and oxen, the choicest animals laid under ban, to sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgal." Samuel then said, "Does the Lord desire offerings and sacrifice as he desires obedience? Obedience is better than sacrifice, and to listen to him than the fat of rams. Defiance of him is sinful as witchcraft, yielding to men is evil as adultery. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord has rejected you as his king." Saul said to Samuel, "I have sinned. I have ignored your Lord's command and your orders. I was afraid of the people, and I deferred to them. But now forgive my sin, I implore you, and come back with me, and I will make my submission before the Lord." Samuel answered, "I will not come back with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and therefore the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel." He turned to go, but Saul caught the edge of his cloak, and it tore. And Samuel said to him, "The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from your hand today and given it to another, a better man than you. God, who is the splendor of Israel, does not deceive or change his mind. He is not a man that he should change his mind," Saul said. "I have sinned, but honor me this once before the elders of my people and before Israel, and come back with me, and I will make you my submission into the Lord of your God." So Samuel went back with Saul, and Saul made his submission to the Lord. Then Samuel said, "Bring Agag, king of the Amalekites." So Agag came to him with faltering step and said, "Surely the bitterness of death has passed." Samuel said, "Your sword has made women childless, and your mother of all women shall be childless too." Then Samuel hewed Agag into pieces before the Lord at Gilgal. Saul went to his own home at Gilboa, and Samuel went to Ramah, and he never saw Saul again to his dying day. But he mourned for him because the Lord had repented of making him king over Israel. So that's the end of our reading. Answer any questions you have. And yeah, thanks for listening.